which is funding from foundations. And starting again with the organization structure and foundation relations, which is still part of USC Advancement. We have approximately 20 professionals here, of which again 4 are in central and 16 are in the schools and units. And here again, we're the primary point of contact for what we call cultivation and solicitation from these foundations. All the foundations that we work with are assigned to a professional foundation relations officer to ensure coordination across USC. Within the central office, the 4 central foundation relations officers, we are tasked with managing the largest foundations in the country with interests across the university. A number of these centrally managed foundations are what we call presidential foundations. Here, President Folt and academic leadership of the university have had and continue to have direct engagements with leaders of those foundations. And so we felt it was important to designate those as presidential foundations. Our office maintains that list and shares that list on a regular basis with our colleagues in the schools and units. So as you reach out to foundation relations officers in your respective schools and units, they'll be able to advise how to proceed with particular foundations. There's also a category called institutionally limited submissions. And here we work in close coordination with the Office of Research with Mike Yarsky and Sylvia DaCosta and others to make sure that we're in compliance with the requirements there. And then we have school managed foundations, which are interested solely in the activities of a particular school. Just to move forward quickly, working with USC Foundation Relations, coordination is very critical, as I mentioned. So we have tools to make sure that we're all very coordinated. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but the other thing that's important is that we have access to research about these foundations, and over time we've developed knowledge as to what gets funded, what doesn't get funded, what has the highest chance of success, how can we position a particular idea or a topic for a greater chance of success, because not every single proposal that gets submitted to a foundation will get funded. And so it's very competitive, and we have ways of working hopefully with you to leverage our expertise to increase the chance of success and be good stewards of your time. Just very quickly, and I go over this material actually in greater detail in the Center for Excellence in Research presentations that I do twice a year. But very quickly, there are 2 types of foundations primarily, private foundations where the funds come from an individual, a family, or a corporation, or a combination of related parties. And then there are public foundations where the funds come sort of from unrelated donors. And we work with both types of these foundations, and we've received substantial support from both types of foundations. Some trends on foundations. New foundations are being formed every year. So as either wealthy individuals create foundations, even public foundations that come into existence. A single point of contact, again, is being requested by a number of these foundations for large universities. Some foundations may not give concurrent grants to a university, even though we have different topics and we have over 20 schools and units. I discussed the competitiveness of getting foundation grants, and so and on top of that, right now with the current economic headwinds, the dollar amounts may go down in the next year or two, and some of those grantees that they may sort of view more favorably grantees that are based in a community or are community-based organizations. In terms of the dollar amounts of these grants, there are some 7- or 8-figure gifts and grants, but generally a lot of the foundation grants that we get are in the 6 figures. And I should also emphasize that they're not all in science and engineering and the natural sciences. There's a large percentage of our funding for arts and culture and humanities and social sciences. So this is very much all inclusive. There's also popularity of multi-university grants. There are a couple of examples here: Lever for Change, which is headed up by MacArthur Foundation, and then recently the Chan Zuckerberg BioHub 2. And they were specifically asking for multiple universities to come together for that. And so we partnered with UCLA and Caltech for that. The other key message is that multidisciplinary approaches to the most challenging problems are what a lot of the foundations are realizing is needed. And they look favorably upon including external partners. And then also the impact. Impact is very important. Foundations tend to be somewhat impatient. They want to see results and a return on investment in a fairly short time frame. Here's just some some foundations that are centrally managed. I won't go into detail, but there are some local foundations, some national foundations. And here's an example or a list of 4 foundation grants to USC faculty. Again, they cover everything from health to community engagement to education, so all inclusive. And in summary, foundations represent also another important source of funds for USC research programs and initiatives. And we feel that we're well positioned to help you with that, and look forward to working with you and engaging with you and adding value and securing funding for your research. Thank you very much for your attention.